Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Kyle. So for today's video, we're going to recap the 2025 Spring Crawl Series at Reaction RC Hobbies in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then we'll finish up with what's next, what's on our radar, what we have planned for the future for these little crawlers that you see behind me. Although there's going to always be stories within stories, I'm going to try and condense this down just to keep the video relatively short and just give you guys my perspective from this series. So rewinding back to the very end of the Winter Comp series, back at the end of, I believe it was March, we had 4 events that spanned throughout the winter for that series, and I didn't do very well in them. I actually put a decent amount of time into getting my trucks ready. I actually missed one event. And I didn't do very good. So that didn't sit well with me because I'm competitive and I want to do really well and I want to see my trucks do really well. So I dedicated a lot of time and energy for the Spring Crawl series. I said, I'm not going to miss an event. I'm going to practice with my trucks. I'm going to dial them in. I'm going to get them right where I want them. And I'm going to try to do the best that I can. Regardless of what other people do, I'm going to do the best that I can do. Like I said, I went and started working on my trucks, practicing with them, and the goal was I was going to run a truck in every class. And I know that sounds kind of crazy. For those of you that don't know the classes, we have class 1 all the way up to 4 for the minis, and then there's also an 18 scale class too. So I ran 5 trucks in the series, and although I'm not going to go into the details of every truck, let me just show you which rigs I'm talking about so you have something to kind of picture. So this is my class 1. It's an axial SCX24 Jeep Wrangler JLU. Bone stock. I'll leave it at that. That's all we can do pretty much. My class 2 is also the same Jeep basically as my class 1. I say basically. It started as the same thing. It's just a modified version of it. My class 3 is the V1 Penguin chassis. It's my OG original Gangsta V1 Penguin chassis with the Robski rat body that Mark Wiersma printed for me. This thing is so much fun. We'll get into more details in another video on this, but this was my class 3. The Endura Kangaroo chassis is my class 4. It is a 4-wheel steer class, as you can see. And lastly, this is my 18 scale. It is a highly modified Red Cat Ascent 18. It's got a different chassis. It's modified. We'll leave it at that. There's another video about this coming in the future, but this is my 18 scale truck for the Spring Crawl series. So the Spring Crawl series, for those of you that don't know how it works, it's 3 events total with 1 drop. So you will go to 1, 2, or 3 of the events, and if you go to all 3, you get to drop a score. If you miss an event, that's your drop. And then they just take your 2 other scores and total them up, and whoever has the best is the ones that win and make the podium. So starting off with week 1, it was a very great course. It was a challenging course, but it was very doable for a lot of classes. I made a little cheat sheet so I don't screw these numbers up here. My class 1 I started off with, I got a 15 with that bone stock Jeep. It did very well. And there was a lot of other really good drivers in that class that 15 was a great score. My class 2, the purple Jeep, I scored a 6. Again, tough class, tough course, or I shouldn't say tough course, challenging course, but very doable, clearly getting a 6 with a class 2. Class 3, I did even better with the purple rat. I got a 4. And then class 4, the rear steer class, that's where you could really see the difference in, I shouldn't say the difference, where you could see that the course was very doable for a lot of people. And I got a 0, and there were several other people that had 0s as well. And then 18th scale, I did a 16. So it was a very fun week 1, very doable, but scores started off really low for this series. So fast forward here 2 weeks later, week 2, much different than week 1. My class 1 scored a 37, which honestly really isn't a terrible score for a bone stock rig on any course, to be honest. Like, that's just kind of how it goes. Those things, You have to take winches, you have to take reverses. They don't steer very well. They're really light, kind of top heavy. They can just bounce around. So 37, honestly, I was pretty pleased with it. But then you bump up to my my class 2 and it got a 48. I did not do very well with my class 2 that week. So I was kind of discouraged there. But then we jumped up to the rat and class 3 and I scored a 6. And if I do recall right, that class, the 6 that I scored was a really good score that week. Again, I'll put this week's scores up on the screen now so you guys can see what those look like. Jumping down to class 4, I scored a 2. So after having a 0 and then now a 2, I knew it was game on for the last event. Not only did I score a 2, I believe Will also scored a 2. So we were looking at a guy with a 0 and a 2, a couple of us, and then I think Jose, maybe Travis. There's a few of us that were all right there in the mix for class 4, really tight. And then 18 scale, I crushed it. There's something about 18 scale that I've learned. I've put a lot of time and effort into that truck since I have built it. I've learned how it drives. I've learned how I need to drive it and how I need to drive that course. And it's just something about it has clicked with me, and I've done really well with it, where others are maybe still learning and trying to figure things out and the scores aren't as low. I'm not saying that my scores are just far superior than everybody else's, or there's several of us that are kind of right by each other. But I've learned, I feel like, the fastest with that truck compared to the rest of my trucks. So I scored a 5 in 18 scale. All right, so that brings us to the series finale, week 3. Going into this, I was well prepared. I knew roughly what the scores were. I knew where I kind of had to be in a lot of the classes. Class 1, I knew it was going to take a lot for anybody to catch me in class 1, but it wasn't out of the question. If I screwed up really badly and some of the other guys did very, very, extremely well, there was a chance I could have been bumped off in first place. So I knew that going into class 1. Class 2, I had some catching up to do. I knew I was a little bit behind. I can't remember exactly if I was on the podium at that point or if I was just outside, but I knew I was within striking distance of getting on the podium if I had a good run and maybe I got a little help from some of the other guys that may not do as good. Class 3, same way. I knew I was just right there. If I wasn't right there, I was close. Had to do some work to potentially be better and hope that maybe some guys didn't do as good to potentially be on the podium or take first. But I knew that was kind of the situation for class 3. Class 4, I knew it was down to 3 or 4 of us. It was a shootout. I knew that no matter what I did, I had to do good. I was likely to end up on the podium, but it wasn't a guarantee. 18 scale, same thing. I knew it was a tight race. Just all these classes pretty much were a tight race. I should have started with that. So let me break it down class by class. My little white Jeep here, started off with it. I like starting off with this. I don't want to give too many hints away, but I enjoy starting off with this because, for one example, you get on a course and there may be some areas, because we run on a lot of dirt and clay, that get dug out or rocks end up moving. And they may be doable to start. By the time a bunch of people have gone and they have brushless motors and big tires and grippy tires, they start moving rocks. There might be obstacles that this little stock Jeep can't make it over or can't make it through, even if I take a winch. I've had it a couple times since I've started running these things that I've come up to an obstacle in a competition that this Jeep physically can't make it over. There's nothing I can do about it. So I had to take a touch reposition to get past the obstacle just because it was too big. So I enjoy running this first because then it's less of a chance that I have those issues with class 1. So starting off, I did really well, honestly. I knew, looking through the course, watching a few other people right as we were starting off, there was a lot of people. It was a record-setting day for 24 scale, or for the minis, for a reaction. They had, I can't remember the exact number, but it was close to 100 minis that day. But I was watching a few people, and I knew I had to take my medicine in certain places. Take the winch, take the reverse. Don't hit the gate. Don't flip over. Don't set yourself up for more failure. And in the end, my Class 1 score with this thing was a 26. Very, very admirable, I think, on that course. That course could get out of hand really fast and get away from you really quick. So 26 with this, kind of pretty much, I think at that point, I felt that it wrapped up first place for me in that class. I wasn't 100% sure of that, but I felt that way at the time. In the end, this Jeep was a first place Jeep in Class 1. So I was super, super happy and super pumped to get first place in Class 1 because there were several guys that were also in the class. It wasn't just me and one or two other guys. There were several. And I know I'm rambling on and on about this now, but I think Class 1 is just a good class for everybody to just try. Like Jeff, the owner of Reaction, has always said, go out and run a stock truck. Get better at driving. And that's a huge part of this. Like I could go and give somebody one of my rigs that I've spent, lots of money on and a lot of time and effort tuning it, but if they don't know how to drive it and they don't know how it's going to handle, it does them no good. I could go put you in a Lamborghini and you wouldn't know how to get through the gears. Just because, it might be one of the fastest cars in the world, doesn't mean you're going to drive it the fastest. So, similar thing here. I enjoy running Class 1, and I think more people should run a stock truck just to get better at driving. Class 2, the Purple Wrangler. This Jeep actually did fairly well as well. It was a bit of a struggle. By the end of the run, I had one of my tires almost completely off the bead. It was wobbling around. I run these hard park wheels on these trenchers, and I do have the double stacked faces, so I got the longer screws, but I still occasionally from time to time can pop these tires off these beads. I got to see if I can do something about that. But so again, take your medicine where you can. I took 5 total winches, and one of those winches, in fact, was in a really tough spot for pretty much any class that any of us ran. I don't really know how to describe it, but it was a very hard obstacle that no matter if you took a winch, you took a reverse, there was still the chance of you hitting the gate. You could roll over and hit the gate, take a winch and a reverse, all in the same gate. It was very difficult. So I know for sure I took a winch during that, and I also hit the gate. So double whammy there, but even with that one spot, I still ended up scoring a 20 with my Class 2. Now, I knew that there was other guys that were going to go out and run really low scores, so I didn't feel super confident in that I had to catch in that class. I didn't think that the guys were going to go worse than me, but I still felt that I gave myself a chance, a shot in the dark to see if maybe I'd get on the podium for Class 2. So in the end, I ended up with second place behind Will. I'll put the scores for the series on the screen now so you guys can see how close it was, but I really enjoyed running this purple Jeep. We're Jeep people through and through, so running a Jeep in the competition is always fun. I do have some things in mind of what I want to change on this to make it do a little bit better going forward, but stay tuned for a build video on this soon. Class 3, the Rat. I'll give you a quick little background on the Rat. I told you this was my OG, my original V1 Penguin chassis that we built. For the longest time, it sat on this shelf, just the chassis and the kit. I brought it with me to several competitions, waiting for somebody to say, hey, you got a Penguin chassis available? I told some people I had Penguin chassis, or had a Penguin chassis available, and nobody was ever really interested at the time. So after watching it sit on the wall for a long time and I gathered enough spare parts, I say spare parts, I had some good spare parts, I said, you know what? I found this Robski Fab trail wrap body, and I said, I want to have that printed. I want to make some modifications to it, make it work for our Penguin chassis, and I want to run it. I think it'd be a really cool idea. And when I did, I was super, super pumped to be able to build this thing. Like I said, more details on this in the future, but this was just something I kind of threw together rather quickly before the series. Reason being, the penguin that you see in the background that I'm sure some of you have seen on 24 Yep's YouTube channel or CapeCrawlers. I'll put links in the description below. I'll pull a little thumbnail up on the screen now so you guys can see what those videos kind of look like. The Penguin was currently across the country being reviewed by those guys. 24 Yeps in Pennsylvania and CapeCrawlers is in Massachusetts. So I didn't have my Penguin to run this series. And although that was kind of sad and I don't even want to say disappointing, but it was just sad that I didn't have it. I knew that I had another Penguin that was going to be dang near just as capable. So I said, you know what, let's run it. Let's see how it does. And surprisingly, it did very well. I shouldn't say surprisingly. Being something that I threw together kind of last second, it did much better than I anticipated. So going into week 3, I had high expectations for this truck. My father-in-law ran it before me. I told him, don't break it. If he breaks it, I'm going to be pissed because now I got to fix it before we run, or before I run. So he ran it, and he ran it pretty well for considering he doesn't ever run this truck, and he doesn't run trucks very often. He scored a 41 with it. And by the end of the run, I noticed that these trencher tires were actually spinning on the wheel. And I noticed it during his run, but there was nothing I could do at that point. And by the end of the run, the tire actually completely debeaded itself off the backside. So before I ran, I had to swap one of the tires off of the purple Jeep Class 2 just to be able to run, because I didn't have time to swap, not swap, but I didn't have time to rebead that tire. So I just swapped a tire and wheel because they're the same thing basically, and put it on here to run it. So I had pretty high expectations. My father-in-law got a 41. This truck has done really good to this point, and I went out and I royally screwed it up. I don't know if it was just feeling rushed because we had run so many trucks and there were so many people and it was getting kind of later in the afternoon. I didn't want to take forever. I don't know, maybe it's just because I was trying to rush along too much, or maybe I just wasn't driving very good. I wasn't focused, but nonetheless, I did not drive it very good at all. And I ended up scoring a 42. I'm not saying 42 is a bad score, but it definitely wasn't a great score for me. When my father-in-law, nothing against him, he's behind the camera right now, nothing against him, but my father-in-law beating me by 1 with my own truck, and I drive it all the time, just goes to show I didn't drive it very good. So yeah, I scored a 42, and I knew that that wasn't going to help my case for being in the point series. In the end, somehow, some way, other guys may or may not have done as good. Like I said, I'll put the points up on the screen now so you guys can see where that's at. Somehow I got second place in Class 3. Very, very pleased with being right there. In all actuality, I was tied for first, and the tiebreaker comes down to total points. And that 42 run actually hurt me. I thought it was a throwaway at that point, but because it was the total points, because we were tied after the drops, the total points is what ended up hurting me, and it was a difference of, I believe, 10 points, 32 to 42. So had I not hit one gate or a few extra things, like I could have just been a little bit cleaner, even though it was my worst score for the series, I still could have broke the tie and had first place versus second. Nothing to take away from getting second place in Class 3. I will take that all day long, especially with the group of guys that are in that class. But still happy I got it, but I'm excited for the opportunity to make this thing even better. All right, so Class 4, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. This Kangaroo has so much potential. I've done plenty of zeros. This was the first rig I ever did a zero with. I've put a lot of effort into getting this buggy, truck, whatever you want to call it, dialed in the best that I can. Again, another build video coming on this in the near future, but you'll be surprised to hear the story behind my Kangaroo. Nonetheless, moving into our week 3, knowing that I had a 0 and a 2, Will had a 0 and a 2, Jose was close by, and a few other guys were close by with points, that if we screwed up, somebody could potentially come in with us and be close. I think at that point I kind of knew I was guaranteed probably on the podium. Again, I'll put the points leading up to this event so you see what the scenario was. But the Kangaroo, something about this truck, I just get anxious running it now. I don't know if it's right now because I've got these longer I say longer, they're longer than what I typically run. These longer shocks, and although I have it bungeed, and they're not, the bungee does hold it from going fully compressed or fully extended. If I get it in certain situations and I turn the tire just the wrong way when it's, fully flexed out, I've had it where it flips over, and then I just completely screwed my entire run, and now it was a waste of the run for that week. So I think that's part of why I was nervous to run this truck, and knowing that there was pressure on me to do well, pressure that only I am putting on myself, but still nonetheless pressure to do well. And after having run that rat and getting a 42, I was vibes were low. I went into it and I said, you know what? It had already taken us this long. I'm going to finish this out strong, and I'm going to do really well. So I focused in, I dialed in, I put the blinders on, got real quiet, and I focused on my run. I took my time, and it definitely showed, because there were several times, several sections, several obstacles that this thing could have gotten sideways really fast, and I didn't let it. And by the end of the run, I had a 2. I had 1 winch. So in the end, Will, I believe, had 1 gate. So we tied with the drops, and because of the overall total points, I took home first place in Class 4. I was very, very pleased to walk away with first place in what I would consider kind of a hard class to do well in. There's so many guys that are so good at running these things, and I'm just very proud of myself to do well in this class. So that was my kangaroo. All right, last class, 18 scale. My Red Cat Ascent 18, the Juice. For those of you that don't know what the Juice is, stick around for the build series video on this, and you'll learn more about it. I'll put the points that were leading up to the final week for 18 scale so you can see what I was up against. But I was sitting in a good position to get on the podium, if not get first place, and I knew I needed to still do well. So I watched my buddy Dennis run. Before I go any further, I need to make sure that I give him a huge shout out, because if you don't know Dennis Moore, he's the best winchman in the game. If you haven't had Dennis winch you, you're missing out. He's a great spotter. He's a great friend. He will help you throughout the entire course, give you his opinion on what he thinks and what he thinks you should or shouldn't do, and help you winch your truck into great positions. And I've been very, very happy to have him on my side. And thank you, Dennis, for all your help and your work in the winchman duties. Also, big shout out to my father-in-law, Scott, for he was also helping out with this series for being my winchman. So thank you, Scott, for also helping out. 18th scale. I watched Dennis run first. That gave me, I think, a big advantage. I could have sat and watched anybody, but being that I was able to help him with his he has a brand new Hobby Plus, the Juice Up CR18P Pro or CR, I can't remember the exact letters. I'll put that on the screen. He's got a brand new truck to him, and this was the first time him running it, and I got to help him throughout the course, so I got to see ways to go, ways not to go, drive arounds, things like that. And that was very advantageous for me when I went to run. So when I went to run, I did very good. I knew the spots to go, and I didn't put myself really in any pickle, other than at the very end, there was one spot, and I knew points were going to be close. So I took a little bit of a risk, and I said, if it gets out of hand, I couldn't make a turn. And I said, if it gets out of hand, me trying to do this drive around, if I start feeling unsteady or unsafe with it, I'll just take the 3 points in reverse, get myself back on track where I was. I ended up doing a drive around. It got a little hairy. I was this close to backing up or taking a winch. I was so sketched out about if I was going to make this spot to get back to where I could easily not have to take a reverse and get up through these next set of gates. And it was the second to last set of gates. So somehow, some way, just took my time, worked it, didn't get in any bad spots. I was in a bad spot, was close to having to take those points, and I got out of it and ended up making the turn, didn't have to take any more points. And my final score for the 18 scale was a 3. I did very, very well. I had one reverse. Trying to remember where it even was. It doesn't matter, but I had one reverse, and I was very, very happy that I did so well in that class. I knew that I was capable of doing it because I've spent so much time working on this. I'll talk more details during the build video on this truck, but I'll give you a short little brief thing. When I first built this thing, after it started stock and I started modifying it, it was awful. I did so terrible with it. I had so many problems, so many issues, and I was fed up with it. I had a lot of money wrapped up into it and just wasn't doing good, and yeah. Watch that build series video. Wasn't happy, and I'm just so happy that it did. I've got it where I want it now. So there's still room for improvement with it. That's the good thing. So sky's the limit with this truck, really. So in the end, first place with 18 scale. So I will put the points up on the screen now so you guys can see where everybody finished in that class. But those guys, again, very competitive class. I'm very happy we have an 18 scale class because these guys are starting to build them, and it's one open class. There's no, class 1, 2, 3, 4. It's rung what you brung, and it's got to be 18 scale based. And this thing it crushed it. So very, very happy and excited to have gotten first place in 18 scale. All right, so I know that was a lot. There's a lot of me just talking, standing here, showing you some trucks and some Jeeps in the trophies, but I'm happy to kind of show this to you guys. It's kind of a little different video for me, recapping a local event. I'm hoping to do kind of, not necessarily more of these, but share some of this info with you guys on how my trucks are doing and how I'm doing in these competitions. So I can kind of, not that I want to brag. For those of you that think I'm trying to brag, I'm not trying to brag at all. I'm just very proud of myself. I put a lot of effort and time and money into this hobby, and I'm very competitive, and at the end of the day, I know it's just a hobby. We're all there having fun. None of us are making any money. I got this little plastic trophy, and although I'm very thankful for Jeff for providing these trophies, none of us made a dime on any of this. So we're all there to have a good time and get better and have friendships, and that's what it's all about, and enjoying the hobby. So I'm not here to brag. I'm just here to share these memories and these events with you guys. So that's what this video was all about. Now, looking forward, what's next for us? What's next for me in the hobby? Being that this was the spring crawl series, they don't do a summer event series at Reaction RC. The next points series isn't until the fall. So we have a long time between now and I believe it doesn't start till typically October. So a long time before we have point series. Now every Thursday he's still going to continue having competitions at Reaction. They kind of dwindle down with people when it gets nice outside. People have plans, aren't wanting to play with crawlers as much indoors. So we probably won't go as much either. I do plan to start doing some more competitions here on our course at home. Stay tuned for that for more details on those. If you're interested, shoot me a message. We can discuss that. But the plan now is to work on showcasing these rigs. I still have several of them that I'm working on that I want to get better. Want to do a few tweaks and things here and there to finish them or make them better. Like this hard park chassis you see here doesn't have a body. I want to get a body for it. My buddy Travis 3D printed me one. I might be able to make that one work. I got to just figure that out. So these are the things that I want to do. I want to make, like I said, the Juice chassis has a few things I could do to make it a little bit better. I just want to tinker a little bit and see what I can get performance-wise out of these trucks and these rigs to make them better. So that's what I plan to do in the near future, is start showcasing these to you guys in my build series. We're going to go through one by one, and I'm going to showcase each rig, show them on the course how they're set up, what all parts I have into them. I'll showcase how much money I have into each of the parts and the total build, and we'll get out and we'll run it on the course. Maybe I'll set some gates, maybe I won't. I'll just do some crawling. We'll figure that out, but that's my plan going forward, is to show you guys all these cool rigs that I think are cool and share that with you. Coming up at the end of the month, at the end of April, today is April 7th. At the end of this month, Never Enough RC is hosting a team RC crawling event that Dennis and I are going to be participating in, so I'm really excited for that. We also, show you something cool. Dennis and I just got one of these yesterday, Axial Helimon 8 scale buggy. I'm like insanely stoked to showcase that to you guys. We're gonna go out to Walters RC Park and run that thing. We're gonna run the Gladiator 10 scale, the Base Camp 10 scale. I've got a 6 scale Honcho. We're gonna showcase all these to you guys. We're gonna show you the builds and we're gonna go out and we're gonna run them. And I have so much fun running the trails out there. It's just a blast. It makes me feel like I'm actually legit trail riding with the Jeeps. So that is the plan going forward. Hopefully, maybe we'll do some point series here at competitions at my place this summer. Maybe we won't. We'll figure that out. But hopefully this was a video that you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That definitely helps us out a lot. We really appreciate your support. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video. See ya.